Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. Hope you had a very nice week. So, I just saw in the chat that Suzanne has a new job, so congratulations and the best of luck. And you'll need it if you're working with toddlers. No, I'm joking. Best of luck with that. So, a few stories to cover tonight. We have what happened at the RAF base, where Palestinian Action Group broke in and spray painted some aircraft. There's an interesting twist there coming up in a moment. Donald Trump, what can we say about Donald Trump? I'll get into Donald Trump in a moment. A Labour MP has resigned over PIP, and a few other stories as well. I actually have an interesting clip that I want to show you about Israel, where a guy interviews Israelis to get an interesting perspective. And also, maybe if we have time, a story about Dominic Cummings. But I want to start off with this one first, which is quite interesting.
Good evening. To the ranks of the IRA, Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram as banned organisations in Britain under the Terrorism Act, the government is to add the direct action protesters of Palestinian Action, who filmed themselves spray painting military planes and posted it online.
Okay. So before we get into this story, when you think of terrorism, in the UK, you may think of the IRA, you may think of Al-Qaeda. Are the Iranian Revolutionary Guard a prescribed organisation? I'm not sure. But now it seems the British government has decided to deem a protest organisation that got into an RAF base. We'll get to the story in just a moment. But got into an RAF base, spray painted some RAF aircraft, so military aircraft, and now they're deeming them a prescribed organisation, a terrorist organisation. So being a member will result in prison time. Not actually doing anything, just being a member of a prescribed organization is illegal, so you would be breaking the law. I think this is a tad step too far, no? So it says here, Palestinian Action to be banned after break-in at RAF base, Sky News understands. So it comes after a pro-Palestinian activist targeted RAF Bryson Norton and damaged 2 military aircraft. Now, well, here's the clip of them doing it. On a bicycle. I just think this is hilarious. They went in on a bicycle. Like I was expecting the video to be sneaking around in the dark, finding a hole in the fence or something, and there's a guy or a woman on a bicycle. Okay, well, let's continue. Sorry, it's not a bicycle, it's a scooter. A scooter is even something that stands out. So obviously the question here is, how the heck did they get in? Like, where is the security? The RAF base, RAF, of course, Royal Air Force, part of NATO. So here is a NATO base. I don't know if other military aircraft use it from other member states of NATO, but I presume they do. But a NATO base has been infiltrated by somebody on a frigging scooter, cross the airfield, cross the runway, and spray painted a number of aircraft. Where is the security? Like, the only crime here I see, apart from, well, obviously damaging military aircraft, but the bigger crime is, where is the frigging security? No security whatsoever. Okay, once again, is this an act of terrorism? No, it's not an act of terrorism. It's an act of vandalism. We can argue whether it's justified or not, but it's not terrorism. How is it possible for the UK government to decide, yes, we're going to prescribe this organisation because they spray painted, it's the Cutsmacks. Imagine if they spray painted balls on it, a cock on balls on it. That would have been funny, yes. They need to be... Brad is suggesting they be a bit more creative next time. Thanks, Brad. This is the result of 14 years of cuts from the Conservatives. Yes, the armed forces probably don't have the staff to look after the gate. There's like we have half as many soldiers as we had about 20 years ago. So, oh my goodness! But look, the reaction is a little bit excessive now. So it goes on to say, the Home Secretary is planning to prescribe the Palestinian Action Group, effectively branding it as a terrorist organization, Sky News understands. Yvette Cooper is preparing a written ministerial statement which would make becoming a member of the group illegal. So if you become a member of this group, not if you actually engage in direct action, not if you damage aircraft, nothing like this. If you become a member, you could go to prison. A little bit heavy-handed, no? A little bit excessive. Like, the problem here is there's no security. If there was security, then the people wouldn't be able to get in. Statement is expected on Monday and will need to be enacted through new legislation. It'd be interesting who will vote for this. Which MPs? Obviously, the Conservatives will vote for the amendment or for this legislation. It'd be interesting to see which Labour MPs vote against it, because this is insane. You can't prescribe. I expect. No, I don't expect. I expect. Let's put a caveat on that. The free speech people will be up in arms over this. I imagine the Vice President of the United States will be condemning the government for suggesting that these people should be members of a prescribed organization because they're engaging in protests. This is a form of protest, is it not? I presume the J.D. Vance will be flying over and criticizing Britain for suspending freedom of expression here. No. Is that the intelligence plane? No, I don't think it. No, the intelligence plane is a smaller aircraft, and there are a number of different ones, but I think it's a smaller one. I think this is a cargo plane. I'll bring it actually up on the screen. It comes after two pro-Palestinian activists targeted RAF Braze in Norton and damaged two military aircraft, which Sir Keir Starmer described their actions as disgraceful. A security review has now been launched after the breach. Briz Norton in Oxfordshire is the largest RAF station with approximately 5,800 service staff, 300 civilian staff and 1,200 contractors, and nobody saw a guy on a scooter. In a video shared by the Palestinian Action on Friday morning, a person can be seen approaching the aircraft on a scooter as music is played. I'm not sure if the music was added after or it was part of the original recording. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? It's like they crossed no man's land. They went through a security fence playing music on a scooter, and they were able to get right up to a number of aircraft, not just one, a number of aircraft, and spray paint them. The person then sprays paint onto one of the plane's engines. Red paint can be seen on the ground. Repurposed fire extinguishers were used to spray the paint into the turbine engines of the two Airbus Voyagers, while further damage was used using crowbars. The organisation, which focuses its campaigns on multinational arms dealers and previously targeted corporate banks, said it had damaged two military planes at the base where flights depart on a daily basis for RAF Artikrati in Cyprus, which is another military base. Alistair, thank you so much for that super chat. Max, remember, Scottish independent supporters under Gove's law are domestic terrorists. Jesus, I didn't know that. Brad again, thank you so much, Brad. Sorry, I saw that comment from before. But wow, the SNP is a prescribed organisation. That's a new one for me. I'm not saying I don't believe you. We're talking about the Tories, so the Tories would prescribe everyone who's not a Tory. So, Easiest job in the world must be Donald Trump's Director of National Intelligence. Hey, Max, do you know who you're talking about when you say that they're getting mad over freedom of speech? Also, it's me, the unknown user. Okay, but who are they getting mad about? Sorry, do you know who they're talking about when they're getting mad? They're getting mad. So the conservatives in America, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump didn't really talk about this, but J.D. Vance was talking about how freedom of expression is being suppressed in the UK, and he was criticizing Keir Starmer, not directly Keir Starmer, but the government. But it's not about, it was, of course, when it came to the riots. So it was, well, how dare you put people in jail for inciting rioting? That's the free speech that they were talking about. People should be free, according to J.D. Vance, to incite riots. But to protest, no, these people need to be thrown in jail and sent to a gulag before being sent to a gulag. Peter, thank you so much for that super chat. Like pinning a tail on the donkey to spray the cock and balls in the right location. It was dark, Peter. Okay, it's easy for you to say this sitting there, at your computer or on the sofa with your phone. I'm not sure how you're viewing this. It's easy for you to say that, but you're not out there in the dark on a scooter with music playing. Thanks, Peter. The protest is working. They're getting airtime. Exactly. That's the point of a protest. It's like when people were criticizing Extinction Rebellion for blocking the roads or something. Their point was we need to get attention, and they were getting lots of attention. GB News and Talk TV were giving them a huge amount of attention, and I expect this organization will get lots of attention too. Telegram boss Pavel Dovov revealed today that he has over 100 children. He makes Boris Johnson look like a virgin. What is it with? So thanks, Brad. I think so. It's Boris Johnson. It's this guy, the owner of TikTok. Telegram, and Elon Musk. They all have like hundreds of children. Not exactly. I'm not familiar with the owner of TikTok, but the examples I mentioned here, Boris Johnson and Elon Musk, not exactly the sort of specimens that you'd like reproducing, ad infinitum, no? How is it possible to have 100 children? Is it genetic donation? Yes. Yeah, I know. The idea of Boris Johnson doing the business, it would cause people trauma. It's caused me trauma, okay? I'm still trying to work through that trauma. Just the idea of Boris Johnson doing the business, okay? Yeah, I've built up a sort of psychological block to it. So I think all these children that Boris Johnson have are through a IVF. So because it's impossible. Because as soon as never mind, God help us. Boris and Elon must never lie about the number of kids. Would never lie. No, Boris Johnson, a bastion of truth. So, guys, I think, once again, back to this story, I think it's a bit excessive to make this group a prescribed organization. The people involved, what's the worst that should happen to them? They're arrested, they're fined, or they're punished for criminal damage. But a prescribed organization, isn't Labour supposed to be on the left? It sounds a bit far right to me. This is the sort of thing that the Conservatives, if the Conservatives had done this, I would be going, well, the Conservatives are far right. Of course they're going to do something like this. They are against any sort of protest. So, yeah, it makes sense. But the Labour Party, turning this, is it because it's Palestine? Is it because, well, we're not allowed, you're criticizing Israel, or is this what it's about? If the situation had been different, if we were not in this situation with Gaza or Iran, do you think this organization would have been prescribed? Probably not. Anyway, let's move on. So about Trump. Excuse me. Starmer could allow Trump to use British air bases to attack Iran, says Harriet Harman. Wonderful. So Keir Starmer could end up allowing Donald Trump to use British bases to launch strikes on Iran. I thought Donald Trump was a pacifist. Speaking to Beth Rigby on the Electoral Dysfunction podcast, Baroness Harman said this was despite the Prime Minister being part of the generation shaped by opposition to the Iraq War. Look, Keir Starmer doesn't really hold any positions, does he? Are we still in this? Are there people who still believe that Keir Starmer actually believes things, holds principled positions? Like, even if this is not directly a criticism of Keir Starmer, but we know that he doesn't really hold, like, he used to be a Remainer, and then he sort of went, well, yeah, we're not really wanting to rejoin the EU. When it came to, human rights and stuff like that, yeah, we need to deport people. We need to deport as many people as possible. When it comes to looking after the most vulnerable in society, well, you're going to see the story later about PIP and benefits for people who are disabled. Like, what does the Labour Party represent today? Starmer believes whatever McSweeney tells him. It looks like that, yes. If we had PR, Starmer would not have moved to the right. Yeah, it's probably not, because there'd be no need. Because under PR, you'd be voting for parties that represent your position. You wouldn't be holding your nose and voting against something else. So you'd actually have politicians who would actually stand up for what they believe. This is the ironic thing about Nigel Farage is he represents anti-immigration. He's not trying to sugarcoat things. He's not trying to, at least at the moment, he's not trying to pander to people on the centre or whatever. You know what you get with Nigel Farage. And under PR, well, more politicians would be like that. They would be much more direct in their communication. They wouldn't be trying to, well, we better keep this group happy and that group happy because we have to try and maintain a broad church. No, you would have much clearer definitions of what people actually stand for. David Lammy is criticizing Israel out, is calling Israel out on Gaza, but I still don't like criticism. He still hasn't said that they are engaging in genocide. Sultana has beliefs, Keir has none. Yes. Anyway, back to this story here about using UK bases. Baroness Harman said was Solicitor General when Sir Tony Blair decided to take Britain to war in Iraq alongside the United States in 2003. She said the decision made by Sir Tony would be burning bright in Keir Starmer's mind. I don't think so. He's part of the political generation of the Labour Party that grew up, which was shaped by its opposition to what Tony Blair was doing in relation to Iraq. So that would be a massive change for him. Once again, as was pointed out here in chat, he does whatever Morgan McSweeney tells them. If the UK could end up giving permission for US based aircraft to use British military bases in Cyprus and Diego Garcia, but do not go any further than that, Baroness Harman said. Exactly. Yes. Look, I don't see the UK getting involved in the same way as it did in 2003 when it came to Iraq. But I would put money on the idea that if the US says, can we use some of your bases, the UK would say yes. Because it's an ally. It's the United States is going to war. Unfortunately, once again, remember Donald Trump was supposed to be the peace president, and I want to reinforce this point that I mentioned in a video. I don't believe for 1 second that the MAGA would turn on Donald Trump if he goes to war. There are certain people within MAGA who are against the idea of foreign interventions, but they're not really going to abandon Donald Trump. They're not going to. So they're in disagreement with Trump, but they're not going to say, well, Donald Trump needs to go because he's broken this promise. And then you have the majority of MAGA, I believe, who don't actually have a functioning brain. They just have ears and they have a skull to hold on whatever, the red baseball cap. There's nothing in there. So they will do whatever Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump says war is bad today, they'll say war is bad. And then Donald Trump says, war is good tomorrow. War is good. These people they're like wind vanes, okay? They don't actually have a functioning brain. They have no principles. If you had principles, and a lot of them are supposed to be Christians, well, you would not vote for somebody who was a sex pest. You wouldn't vote for a liar. You wouldn't vote for somebody who's corrupt. You wouldn't vote for a convicted felon. You wouldn't vote for a guy who, when asked which is his favorite part of the Bible, he said all of it. Okay. Or when he was asked, what was it, your favorite parable? What's your favorite parable by Jesus, or your favorite parable in general? He's like, that's too personal. You've read the Bible? Yeah, of course. Second best book, apart from my own, that I didn't actually write. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's move on. I think this is it's interesting also, just one thing before we finish on Donald Trump for a bit. It's interesting that he says, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take a 2-week break. We're going to wait 2 weeks and then decide whether we're going to go to go to war with Iran. It's like, what? I think it's down to he's waiting to see what happens with Israel. If Israel is able to resolve this, then he'd be like, okay, I'm not getting involved. Because I don't think Trump is not completely stupid. He would prefer not to get involved. So he's hoping probably that this will all run its course in about 2 weeks. And there's also this thing about Trump where he says stuff and then hopes people forget. It's like, the 90 deals in 90 days. How many deals has he signed? The 90 days is almost up, if it's not already up. And how many has he signed out of the 90? It doesn't seem to be any. Brad, thank you so much once again for that super chat. MAGA must have ears like a bat to be able to hear orders with while deep inside a colon. It's a special ability they have, Brad. You don't know about this. But they are something, aren't they? What are they going to do? Like, Donald Trump is not immortal. What are they going to do when he dies? What are all these people with these red hats? Are they going to move on to the sun? Is it like, in North Korea, what is it? The dear leader and then the great leader, the great leader, then the dear leader. So they worship, like what was it? Nintendo Wii characters who like dancing and stuff. They're always clapping, when Kim Jong-un walks in, everyone has to clap, and wouldn't it be terrible if you had like a cramp and you had to stop clapping because you had a cramp in your arm, and you were the guy who stopped, like, off to the gulag. So that's what Donald Trump would like as well. Didn't get it with his parade though, didn't it? The parade was a bit of a damp. Damp. I've forgotten the term already. Peter, thank you so much for that super chat. His favorite Powerball is run by the lottery on Saturday night. 90 spies rifling through file boxes at Mar-a-Lago. Thanks, Peter. Anyway, let's move on to our next story, which of course is about PIP. This is really disappointing. So a Labour MP has decided, Labour MP resigned the whip. Doesn't mean that she leaves the party, but I think she's no longer a Labour, I believe she's no longer a Labour MP, so she has quit over cuts to disabilities. Now, this is what Lisa Nandy, the Culture Minister, Culture, Media and Sports Secretary, had to say about it.
Vicky is the only frontbencher that I've had a conversation with about resigning. I know that she has been wrestling with this for some time. She was the former Shadow Disabilities Minister, and she has a very strong view about this. Now, I really respect it, but we disagree on this point.
How many backbenchers have expressed their concerns to you?
A handful have expressed concerns about the detail, and I'm really confident that we've listened and we've put forward a package that is absolutely right. So to give an example, we're introducing reforms as part of this process so that people who lose PIP, the personal independence payment, we're expanding access to work schemes so that, say,
Well said, Sam. Yeah, I think she resigned from the government, not the whip. So she resigned from the government. So she's still a Labour MP. Apologies. Yes, thanks for that clarification.
You used your PIP to pay for a taxi to work, you now no longer qualify, that you would still be able to go to a fund in order to access provision if that would help you.
Okay, but PIP is not a in-work benefit. This is what's so frustrating. I'm not an expert on this. And maybe what I'd like to do is maybe do a live stream if I can with somebody who is an expert. So if you know somebody who's an expert on benefits and the benefit system and universal credit, please send them in my direction. It'd be nice to do a live stream with them so we can take your questions as well. I have a lot of questions. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that PIP is not an in-work benefit. So you don't need to be working in order to get access to PIP. You just need to be disabled. So it's a support for people who are disabled. So it helps them with the cost of living. It helps them with changes in their home in order to live with their disability. So when the government talk about, well, we need to get people on PIP back into work, well, this is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all because it's not an in-work benefit. To be honest, Max, that's the plan by the Trump family. Yes, the Trump plan is it will be Donald, then Donald Jr., and then Barron, and then whoever comes after that, unfortunately. It's not means tested. No, it's not means tested. It's for everyone who has a disability. Anyway, let's come back to this.
To stay in work. We're introducing a right to try for the first time. Lots of my constituents worry about coming.
Okay, but once again, right to try is related to work. PIP is not a in-work benefit.
Off PIP and into work because it's so then hard to go back through a reassessment process, very grueling process in order to get back onto it. So one of the reforms that we're introducing is that you can try work without risking losing your benefits and go back onto PIP if it doesn't work out without any kind of reassessment. I'm really confident that when you put this together, this is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do by people who can't work, who'll be protected, by people who can work and desperately want to but aren't getting the support, and for the wider public, because we are the only...
But it's not for people who can't work. How is it beneficial to people who can't work to cut their support? How is that? Where is it? If somebody is on PIP, it's because they're disabled. And what you're saying is we're going to cut PIP for people in order to convince them to work, but they're not working. My mum received PIP only 6 months before the end of her life. I'm so sorry to hear that. She was battling cancer for 7 years. PIP greatly helped, but it was also so hard to get. I'm sorry to hear that, Nini. My condolences. And this is something that so many people talk about when it comes to PIP, is that it's not just you turn... This is so frustrating when I hear these people on Talk TV or GB News who are like, oh yeah, you can get it through over the phone, or you just log on to a website and then you get PIP. No, it's not like... These are obviously people who have never gone through the process. We're talking about a very difficult process. It's complicated. There are a lot of forms to fill out. This is what I've been told by people. It's not as easy as the right-wing media tried to present. It's very difficult, and many people are denied PIP. But it has been described as a fundamentally important support for people. Baron Trump, pity Trump's mother wasn't Baron. Good point. But they're changing the point system so that if you qualify for PIP after the reforms, then you won't be able to work. Many people rely on PIP. So let's leave apart the people who are not working. But there are a lot of people who are working because of PIP, because they have the support they need. But if the changes to PIP come in, it will mean many people who are now working, thanks to PIP, will not be able to work. Because when they make the changes, they will not be able to get to work. They won't have the support they need. The government keeps saying, yeah, but we'll support people who need it. Yes, but there are people who need it now, and you're making the change. That change will kick a lot of people out of work because their employer will not say, well, if I'm no longer willing to facilitate you. Or people who don't get the support they need will not be able to work. They won't physically be able to go to work. This is a nonsensical approach. At the same time, there's another story about how the government is doing a U-turn on non-DOMs because they're afraid, well, a lot of these non-DOMs are not going to stay in the country and they're going to feck off to another place. So we're going to jump through, we're going to pander to non-DOMs, people who are literally not paying tax in the country because it's a non-DOM status, it's a non-domicile status. We're going to pander to them, but we're going to make life more difficult for people who have disabilities. Now, a question many people are asking is, how is this possible? Well, surely this is going to damage the Labour government or the Labour Party. Unfortunately, and I hope I'm wrong with this, but unfortunately it will not. Because according to polling, and this is a big problem, according to polling, a lot of people support this because first of all, they don't understand what PIP is, and second, they think there are too many people on benefits. Now, this is so insane, and I keep pushing back on this, but unfortunately, according to polling, a majority, and we're talking about people who are able-bodied, we're not talking about disabled people. So if you're able-bodied, you don't live the life of a disabled person. And if you get most of your information from GB News or Talk TV or the Daily Mail or the Sun or something, you're going to be primed to think that most people on benefits are lazy scroungers. So if you're asked in a survey, do you think PIP should be cut, or do you think it should be means test, or do you think it should be changed, or do you think too many people are on it? Then the obvious answer those people would say is yes. So the government will say, well, look, polling supports making these changes. It's a sort of manufactured consent. And then, of course, the government will run with this. Well, the polling supports this, so let's go with it. We're not going to take a hit in the polls because the public support it. Now, the solution to this is, of course, talking about these issues, talking about the impact PIP has on people's lives, both negative and positive, and how changes to it would be dramatically damaging to people's lives themselves, but also to support charities who are standing up for the disabled, because many disabled people don't have a voice, and the only voice they do have is through these organizations, these charities, or these lobbies who are pressuring MPs. Now, it's good that one MP decided to resign from the government. She didn't resign as an MP, as Sam pointed out, but she resigned from the government. That's a positive thing, but it's just one.
Country, major economy that hasn't recovered from the pandemic levels of unemployment. We've got 1 in 8 young people who have effectively been written off, and I'm not prepared to stand by and allow that to continue.
Okay, young people being written off because of the pandemic, because we have so many people unemployed, and okay. There are a number of things to say about this. First of all, so many people are not able to work because they can't get an NHS appointment. They are off sick. They can't get into work because they're not getting the treatment they need. So that's not their fault. That's the fault of the government from before, who didn't invest enough in the NHS. So the NHS waiting list went to record levels when the Tories were in charge. And that meant so many people had to wait and did not get an NHS appointment. If they got the treatment they need, they would be able to get back into work. That's one part of it. It's vast oversimplification, but that's one part. The other part is, look, we're heading down a road where many young people are not going to be able to find jobs. Like we hear every day, I keep talking about it, but the media don't seem to be all that interested in it, and the public don't seem to be all that interested in it. But AI and robotics and automation is going to replace a lot of people's jobs. If I was giving somebody advice today in what job they should be looking for, it's not YouTuber, but it's plumber or electrician. These are jobs. These are really good paying jobs at the moment, and these are probably the jobs that are going to last the longest before. These are probably going to be the last jobs to be outsourced to AI. But we're seeing lots of positions being replaced by artificial intelligence, and it's going to continue over the next number of years. Some predicted 40% unemployment by 2030. And the government is what is the government doing? The government is talking about people need to get off benefits and into jobs. What jobs? Like, not jobs with long-term prospects. You can do Uber Eats, or you can maybe work in a care home. But many people don't have the skills to do these jobs. They don't have the ability. The jobs are not in their area, and it's not feasible. It doesn't pay enough. YouTube nonsense, yes. Please watch The Godfather of AI. Great watch. Yes, he's very good. I actually think I tend to disagree with him. I think he's overly optimistic on when it will arrive. It's about the time. I actually think it's going to happen a lot sooner but then he's the expert, so I should just shut the F up. Guys, we're about halfway through the stream. We're going to move back to the serious stuff in just a moment, but I hope you enjoy this clip before we... I'm sure you will before we continue. So...
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting, and they did a lot of blasting, even not going through the front door. You know, you think you go through the door. If you're a normal person, you say, knock, knock, may I come in?
After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
He died like a dog.
But his death does not mark the end of our effort.
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation.
And I don't get any credit for this, but that's okay. I never do. But here we are.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
And I'm writing a book. I think I wrote 12 books. All did very well.
The United States...
How the United States has fallen. Okay, let's move on. Okay, it's true though. So this was an interesting interview. I want to show you part of it. It's assassination of Iran's supreme leader would open Pandora's box, according to Russia.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm quite limited actually. The meeting is going on, and as soon as it is over, I will have to run.
Okay. I want to start by
Is it me, or does he look like a 1980s football player?
asking you about developments in the Middle East, and specifically the fact that America is actively considering striking Iran. What's Russia's reaction to that?
Well, we think that the situation is extremely tense and it's dangerous, not only for the region but globally wise. And enlargement of the geography of the conflict, enlargement of the composition of participants of the conflict potentially is extremely, even more dangerous. This is our attitude, and it will lead only to, let's say, another circle of confrontation and escalation of tension in the region. Potentially, it's extremely dangerous.
And how concerned are you about the prospect of regime change in Iran?
Well, you know, yesterday this question was asked to President Putin when he talked to news media chiefs.
It's a valid question, surely.
Yes, and he said that I even don't want to speak about that, he said. So it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable, and it should be unacceptable. Even talking about that should be unacceptable for everyone.
But it is being talked about.
Unfortunately.
Donald Trump has been openly speculating about it. What do you make of that language? Is it irresponsible, inflammatory?
Well, he never said about a definite decision on that.
But he's speculating about killing Iran's supreme leader.
We would rather not do that by ourselves.
If it were to happen, though, that Israel assassinated Ayatollah Ali Khamenei with US assistance, how would Russia react?
Very negatively. Very negatively. We will strongly disapprove it.
Okay, there's not much Russia can really do about it at this stage, but I'm loving the comments. Sorry, I have to read some of the comments here. I'm sure he goes in now with the same pet. Trump hair with the dash. Israel Putin, 80s football player would have a knot the size of chin. Well, yeah, he would have had a right moustache for being a footballer. I'm sure he was in the Dukes of Hazzard. These pricks are constantly threatening to nuke Ukraine. That's true. Yeah, don't push us or we'll nuke. Pesky Pesov is sweating. Germany 1990s World Cup player. He played for East Germany. That's where we saw him before reunification. That was it. Anyway, but back to this story. So, Russia is like a broken clock, right twice a day. So he is. I believe he's right when he says, "Look, this would have dramatic impact on the region." Assassinating the Iranian leader. See, the problem with, like what happened with Saddam, is there was no plan in place for what happens after. Like, there are talk about putting in the Shah, the previous monarch that was there before the Iranian Revolution in '79. But that guy was hated. He replaced a democratically elected government. And the problem with the democratically elected government was that it believed in, well, the oil should be for the Iranian people. And unfortunately, the United States said, yeah, but we don't like that. we would like to have some of this oil too. Or, you can't be giving all the oil, you can't be spending oil revenue on people. So that you have to go. So I believe he was a socialist leader or a social democrat, and he conflicted with US foreign policy. So they replaced him with the Shah, and then of course the Shah was replaced with by the during the Iranian Revolution. Now the son of the Shah is being presented as a possible new leader for Iran, and this guy is of course pro-West, pro-American, pro-Israel. So he ticks all the right boxes. But unfortunately, the Iranian people have not been consulted. It's like, we're going to get rid of the Ayatollah, who a lot of you don't like. Some of you do like him, but a lot of you don't like him. And we're going to replace him with a king, and we will decide who the king will be. You happy with that? You're not going to rebel over that now, are you? We wouldn't like that happening. It's insane. And the timeline we're on is Donald Trump is in charge. How do we get off this timeline? Trump would wreck Iran by becoming their leader. What's that, Brad? He talked about running Gaza, building gold statues of himself in Gaza, and then probably building golden statues of himself in Iran. Donald Trump, he wanted to be Pope at one stage. Maybe he could be the next Ayatollah. Not sure how that would work out, but we'll have to wait and see. I wanted to show you, I want to move on, is sticking with the Middle East for a moment, but I wanted to show you this video from a channel that's very interesting. What they do is they interview, if I can get it loading, okay. They interview Israelis and Palestinians and get their opinion. It's a vox pop, as you see people on the street, but we've got some very interesting comments here. I'm of the idea, and maybe I'm naive, but I'm of the idea that the vast majority of Palestinians want to live in peace with Israel, and the vast majority of Israelis want to live in peace with the Palestinians. The problem is the extremes. The problem is the people at the top who want war, who want conflict. Maybe I'm being naive here, but the more I hear from ordinary people on both sides, the more I'm of the belief that ordinary people just want to get on with their lives, and they want to live in peace with each other.
If the Israeli government's expanded settlements, even during the peace process, how can you say it wanted peace, that Israel wants peace?
I think in general we want to live in peace and we want to live a quiet and successful life. But generally myself, I don't believe in the occupation, and I think it's wrong. I think we should
It's war?
It's wrong.
Wrong.
I think we should have two-state solutions.
You're the one. Okay.
Once again, there are a lot of people in Israel who still support the idea of a two-state solution.
But do you see the contradiction between settlements and... Okay. So how do you answer to people?
How do I answer? I think that's what I believe. I believe in two-state solution. I believe we should have a border between us, and hopefully it would be an open border. But if not, then just two-state solution. Then that's it.
ישראלים רוצים שלום, נכון?
נכון, בהחלט.
אוקיי. איך אתה יכול להגיד את זה שכל פעם שיש תהליך שלום הם בונים התנחלויות?
אני חושב שחלק מהביטחון המדינה הוא להגן על הגבולות שלה, והתיישבות על הגבולות בהתנחלויות הם חלק מהבסיס של השמירה על המדינה.
אוקיי, אז איפה יהיה המדינה הפלסטינית לפי התהליך שלום?
אני מבחינתי לא רוצה שתהיה מדינה פלסטינית.
אוקיי, אז מה קורה?
אופס, אוקיי.
עם הפלסטינים, אם לא יהיה להם מדינה, לא תהיה להם.
צריך למצוא איזה דרך, אין לי דרך כרגע, אם היה לי רעיון הייתי אומר, אבל אין לי דרך. הם יכולים כרגע לחיות בתנאים שאנחנו מוצאים לנכון שכרגע הם נמצאים בהם, תחת יהודה ושומרון, עם אחריות שלהם. אבל מדינה, אני לא מאמין שצריכה להיות להם מדינה, לפחות לא בשלב הזה.
למה?
לדעתי הם צריכים לעבור איזה שלב של התפתחות, כדי להבין שהרג ומלחמה וטרור הוא לא שלב שיכול לנצח את ה...
Okay, but unfortunately, that position is like saying, well, we've punished these people and now they're rebelling, and if they stop rebelling, then I can entertain the idea of allowing them to have a state. just let that marinate in your mind. So it's like somebody punching you, and then them saying, look, hey, I'm going to punch back, and you say, hey, before punching back, think about what you're doing. Okay.
זה לא שלב מנצח. שהם יפנימו את זה, אולי יהיה סיכוי לדבר איתם על זה.
How can you say Israel wants peace when Israel government expanded the settlements during the peace process? The woman on the side is nodding.
You want to answer?
I have a problem.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. I think the people of Israel want peace.
Their own way.
And not the government and the settlements doesn't represent the people of Israel. It represents a part of the people. And yes, I believe most of us want peace. Yes.
But did it bother you that during Oslo,
stop this war.
Let's say 20 years ago, they were expanding settlements? Yes, 20 years ago. They were expanding around Jerusalem. Does that bother you? Did it bother you?
Well, I was kind of had my hopes up with the peace process, but that's over now. And I think we all want peace. We just don't know how to achieve it. And with our enemies, it seems like we'll never. After the 7th of October,
because they don't want
peace, you mean? They don't want peace. They just want to murder us. That's all. Hamas and the Muslims who are extremists, they want to murder us. That's all they want, in a very brutal and barbaric way. And so I think that there will never be peace because we have no partner for peace. I used to think otherwise, but after the 7th of October, that's what I think. Okay,
do you want to say something about the contradiction between saying you want peace and the settlements?
Well, it's pretty obvious to me. Israel wants to expand itself, and it doesn't come with peace. There is no peace.
Okay, so you're saying there is no peace when you expand settlements?
As long as you expand the settlements, no.
Okay.
And if we quit to expand, if we don't expand settlements anymore, you think there will be peace? You think Hamas wants to make peace with us? I don't know, but we haven't tried.
She's right, we haven't tried. It's a sad situation. Like, from the Israeli point of view, I think a lot more people are starting to realize that, look, we're creating enemies of Israel continuing down this road. This is not helping Israel in any way. So, apart from what's happening to the Palestinians, this is alienating Israel on the world stage. You know, allies have now become not enemies of Israel, but has certainly become no longer friendly towards the state. And this is going to harm ordinary Israelis, and they realize, hey, this is not actually in our long-term goal. It's not in our long-term interest to have ourselves alienated from everyone else. And, you know, if Israel wants to be protected, it needs to build up friendships. It needs to reach out to other states and say, look, but what they've been doing over the last 2.5 years is alienating not just the Arab world, but alienating their own the international community. Like, with the exception of the United States and maybe the United Kingdom, what countries, maybe with India as well, but what countries are on the side of Israel at the moment? Very few. And a lot of the sympathy that Israel had after the 7th of October has completely disappeared. And I don't see how they're going to get that back. It is going to harm the Israeli economy. It's going to harm ordinary Israelis. And it creates a massive amount of resentment. I really don't understand what they're hoping to achieve by this. I understand that the far-right settlers and the far-right members of the Netanyahu government don't care about the consequences for Israel. They just want to take over land. They don't look any further than beyond the end of their nose, and they don't give a shit about other countries because they believe, well, we always have the United States to support us. But while that seems to be the case now, we don't know what's going to be the future. Who will be in charge in the future? They may take a different approach to Israel. So many similarities to the apartheid years in South Africa. Isn't it that the neck of the woods where they hung out lad Jesus? Yes, they're not done there. They want a negative peace under which Palestinians are second-class citizens and are policed every second and live in bastions. It's like, I think a one-state solution is actually the only way forward, but a secular state. So not a Jewish state, not an Arab state or a Muslim state, but an Islamic state, but a secular state where religion is respected, where people's right to religion is protected. I think that's the only peaceful way forward. Because if you have extremists in government who believe that, well, God decided I can have this land, I'm allowed to kick people out because God said so, then how are you supposed to reason with people like that? You need to have a secular state, a state that says, look, we follow the rule of law. We don't follow the rule of God. So we have to respect international law. We have to respect national law. Your rights are protected, but your rights do not extend beyond that. You have the right to swing your fist, but not. It ends when it touches somebody's nose. So I think that would be the way forward for Israel. Unfortunately, I don't see a two-state solution happening, because what's left at this stage of Palestine, like what's happening at the moment, is there's massive influx of Israeli settlers into Gaza now, and the plan, of course, is to level Gaza and turn it into settlements, like Donald Trump's frigging video. Garrett, thank you so much for that super chat. Hello, Max. My name is Israel. I need to protect myself and my house. Therefore, I am coming to Italy and not occupying 75% of your house. How marvelous. Thanks, Garrett. It's I think what needs to happen is people need to stop looking at the past and need to look at the future and say, okay, what can we have as a future? I think the big problem, and I feel stupid saying these things because I'm extremely ignorant of the position of the situation, but it doesn't help anyone talking about 1948 or 1967 or what happened before, because the Israelis will say, well, we won this land and this belongs to us, we won it in the past. Or the Palestinians will say, well, we were kicked out of this land, this is rightly ours. And then other Israelis will say, well, we lived there 2,000 years ago or whatever. So if people keep talking about the past, we'll never be able to move forward. So people need to think, okay, what do we want in the future? Well, then the future has to be, in my opinion, a secular state where the religions are protected. People's right to express their religious beliefs are protected by the state. I understand why Israelis and Jews want to have their own state, considering what happened to them in the past. But I think what's happening today is actually undermining their own state, their own nation. And I think the only way forward would be to understand we can't continue down this road. It's failed. What have we achieved over the last number of years? Have we increased security or diminished it? Are we better off or are we worse off? We can't push people out. It just creates resentment. A great Saturday agreement. A great Saturday agreement. So I was a bit caught off there. Okay, guys, we're almost at the end of the stream. I want to cover one final video here before we go, because this is this got my blood boiling. So this is our old friend Dominic Cummings.
They'd see the regime fighting to maintain secrecy of the vast cover-up of industrialized mass rape of white English children by Pakistani and Somali gangs over decades, while Whitehall continues to import people from the exact same tribal areas responsible. In January, Number 10 Downing Street claimed that Elon was spreading conspiracy theories about national cover-ups. This is wrong. I witnessed the attempts at these cover-ups myself when I was working in Whitehall, including the deliberate attempt by government departments to use courts to block reporting of the entire story.
Okay, what the hell is this guy doing? This charlatan that has come out from under his rock, who has not said anything about this for the last 14, 15 years, and suddenly has come out and said, hey, there was a cover-up. And now the Labour government is trying to cover it up again. The Labour government is protecting those. What is this guy's game? What is he up to here? Is this about getting Boris Johnson back into power? What is he doing? Engaging in this type of rhetoric, talking about how Elon Musk was right. Why is this charlatan talking now? Where has he come from? Honestly, the last time I really heard from Dominic Cummings, he was in a rose garden telling lies, pandered to by the media. Barnard Castle let him go as PR consultant. Maybe got his eyesight back from Barnard Castle. But seriously, an absolute charlatan, lying freak. And here he is once again, engaging in his charlatanism. How many countries would keep the National Security Minister who presided over the worst atrocity in their nation's history in post? Yes, it is a good question, Gareth. I don't think many would, unless it was the Conservatives. But then, he's in the nutter American right, Bannon, etc. Now, like Liz Truss. So he's following Liz Truss's slime trail. The more right-wing parties, the better. Really? Yeah, well, actually, that's a good point under First Past the Post. Loved comments on spit and images. Specsavers have fired him as their ambassador. But it's like Liz Truss. You hope these people go away out of embarrassment, but no, they come back worse than before. So Dominic Cummings has some sort of axe to grind with the civil service. I don't believe for a second that he knew about any of this, or even if we don't even know if this is true. Like, if Dominic Cummings says something, it's automatically untrue. He has to prove to you that it is true. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt does not apply to people like Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, and Elon Musk as well, and also Dominic Cummings. These people, they don't have due process when it comes to the benefit of the doubt. They're automatically lying until it's been proven otherwise. That's the approach that has to be taken. Like Nigel Farage. Maybe I'm overly cynical when I'm responding to Nigel Farage, but my position is Nigel Farage is lying until he's proven otherwise. Maybe maybe I'm setting the bar too high, but if he has built a career on lying, then if he says it's raining outside, it's a good idea to go and check for yourself. Don't take his word on it. The video I did today with him, lying once again, talking about how asylum seekers were getting credit cards, how asylum seekers wanted clothes because they were working. Asylum seekers are not allowed to work. If an asylum seeker told the Home Office, hey, I need clothes for working, I think the Home Office would have something to say about that. If an asylum seeker said, hey, can you help me get a credit card? I think the Home Office would say, you're not allowed to have a credit card, or you can't actually get a credit card. Like, honestly, is there a way to get a credit card without a fixed address, without a job, without a bank account, without some sort of proof of address, like bills and stuff in your name? Has the criteria fallen so far in the last few years? And maybe I haven't seen it. Cummings, the startled testicle strikes again. Brad, you should do stand-up. The startled testicle strikes again. Did you come up with that yourself? Nigel is worried that immigrants will take all his milkshakes. Dominic Cummings is God, yes. If Donald Trump develops dementia, how would we tell? It's a good question. He was talking about World War II, and he was saying to the German Chancellor, you're angry about World War II, or it's a bad day for you. And then he was like, what else was he saying? About Russia? Yeah, but Putin fought in World War II. He lost a lot of people in World War II, Putin. It's like, Putin is old. He has a lot of surgery done, I know, Botox and stuff, but he isn't that old. Okay, he's not not Mick Jagger. What's the other guy from the Rolling Stones? The guy who's eternal. I forget the name. Gareth, thank you so much for that super chat to Commons. Oh, fuck off. You can't ball bag, is it? Thanks, Gareth. Keith Richards, yes. So is Vladimir Putin Keith Richards? I don't know. Bunny Wood. Ron Wood. No. Nigel is too worried about his smoky bacon crisps. Oh my goodness. Guys, we're almost at the end of the stream, so I want to say thank you so much to everyone who came on tonight. Thank you to the moderators for doing a wonderful job. And thanks to all who has sent a super chat, Brad in particular, for that one about Dominic Cummings. That will keep me going for a while. So before we finish, we have our one for the night. So I hope to see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. I've been reaching out to a few people about doing a live stream together. So hopefully we can put that together, put that on for you so we can have some lively debate, and also for you to ask some questions live on stream. So we'll see about doing that if possible. So I hope you enjoyed this one before we go, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If it loads.
So, Minister, you're making a big announcement today. That's right, we're investing in infrastructure across the country, which involves repairing and building a number of bridges. And what number is that? What's that? What is that number of bridges? A large number. A large number. Yes, a large number of bridges. What is a large number of bridges? What? Because if you're looking at it from the point of view of standing by a river, then 3 or 4 bridges would be a large number. But if you're looking at it from the point of view of a whole country, then we're talking thousands. The second one. Thousands. Yes. 3,000? That sounds familiar. It should be, it's in your press release. Yeah, I should have printed a copy. Okay, so where are these bridges? What? Which bridges are you repairing? The broken ones. Right, and where are you building the new bridges? Well, there's one going across the Thames, I think. From where to where? Well, forgive me, I'm not a bridge expert. No, but you are paying for them, so where do they go? Look, I'm a Treasury Minister. That's more of a Transport Minister question. Okay. They tell us how many bridges we need, and we ask them how much they'll cost. And how much will they cost? Well, I walked right into that one, didn't I? It's a simple question. How much will they cost? Several billion. Several. What does several mean? Well, more than one. So 2? No, several. 10? Sure. Are you? No. Thank you, Minister. Oh, it's not a bridge, it's a tunnel. Thank you, Minister. Next up, as Meta announces it's introducing personalised advertising into WhatsApp, we ask, how soon after learning of the death of a family member would you want to receive adverts for funeral homes, flowers, or house clearing companies?
Wonderful. Have a great weekend, guys. I will see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. As always, stay safe, take care. And before we go, we have Gareth once again. No, Dominic, you don't get a second national inquiry. Well said, Gareth. Thanks so much for that. Have a great one, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Good night.